killed, and your ideas die with you. Does that mean that you learn to write about everything? No. But like, maybe they figured out a few things that they're not sure, but like, there you go. But like, maybe they figured out a few things along the way that are different than the traditional teachings that didn't have to turn it on its head.
Yeah.
You know, I think about stuff like this a lot because you made a great point a few minutes ago. It's like it doesn't have to be everything or nothing.
Very soon you will be in the icebergs, but I don't like the cold.
That's cool.
Wim Hof has defied logic time and time again.
He's able to withstand extreme cold and even ran to the top of Everest in his underwear.
He's proven we're all capable of pushing our minds and bodies way past what was thought possible.
They call me the Iceman.
What is the purpose of living? Happiness, strength, and health.
The rest is mood.
But this society is sick, and we cannot deal with stress. It drains us. But if we listen to our body, we can change that through science.
So what is the first step?
Breathing exercises. It's about handling our emotion and feel that we are on top of it, no matter what. But we have never learned in our schooling how to do this. Next, through the power of the mind, we learn to make our bad feelings, disease, go away.
You were injected with E. coli. You had no negative immune response. You took volunteers, trained them on your techniques, and when they were injected, that response was so. Wim, was there ever a time where the pain was even too much for you?
My wife took her own life.
Who that to depression, and I was not able to do anything. There's so many people that are going through different forms of grief. What would you say to those people?
The only way to break that is...
We've just hit 6 million subscribers on the Diary of a CEO. So me and my team would like to do something we've never done before as a little thank you. And we're calling it the Diary of a CEO subscriber raffle. And here is how it works. Every episode this month, we're going to pick 3 current subscribers at random. And we'll send one of you the £1,000 voucher, one of you tickets to come and watch the Diary of a CEO behind the scenes live with our team, and one of you will have a 10-minute phone call with me to discuss whatever you want to talk about. If you're a subscriber, you're in the raffle. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to do something that me and my team love doing so much. It is the greatest honour of my lifetime, and I hope it continues off into the future. Let's get to the episode.
Wim,
Yes.
what is your mission?
My mission is to bring love and power. Very simple, but then through science. So there is no speculation about it. In all the songs you hear, love is the greatest power, and all that, you know? But we should be able to feel it. And because we could not feel that anymore, to be too consumed through consumerism, through everyday, very hectic, stressful lives, we get confused in it all. We are depleted in our energy. Our energy is being drained through a system that is unequally being divided in its wealth. And therefore, people are not able to use their energy to bring up the right values back in the family, which is patience, which is empathy, creativity, love, composed by happiness, strength, and power. So, because there is confusion in that area, that's why I thought, hey, I'm going to start somewhere, here and now. I'm going to change the world. And I see the wars, I see unhappiness, I see depression, I see pollution, I see abuse, I see all that. And people think that is normal. And we have to abide to those realities. And I think, no, it's sick. And what I'm going to do about it, I'm going to start looking, searching inside. Because I think every mother in the world should be able to bring happiness, strength, and health to their children and keep it there. So that's my mission, to bring it. And because nobody's listening to a person like me saying that from the roof, we'll get it with love is the power and all that. That's why I go through science. But first, I went into the cold. And the cold I met because intuitively I felt, hey, the cold is able to bring down my thinking.
What is it about the nature of society, when you look out on society at the moment, that makes you sad or concerned? What is it about the way we live,
Yes.
the way we've built this thing
So I'm gonna
in
have that
society?
iPad up so I can use it as a guide.
Society is a very complex, opportunistic way through time. Nobody is able to trace down where the problems are, how it has been arisen. It's too complex, too confused. Now and there, I say, hey, okay, look at the establishment. Is this perfect? Is this paradise? No, there's nothing wrong with our knowledge, understanding, and intelligence, but the way we use it. We have to change our consciousness. And our consciousness is our way to perceive. Perceive as what we see and what we are able to deal with. And we cannot deal with the stress coming in our lives. It consumes us, it drains us. And there we are. And look what we can do. We can go to the moon, we can go to Mars, we can build bridges, so we can create AI, all those things. But we cannot create happiness, strength, and health. We gotta reset. So let's stop massively in the world and elevate our consciousness to being good to each other, not to be compatible.
If I'm an individual listening to this and I follow your methods, what can you promise me will be the outcome on my day-to-day life?
A lot more energy. That's number one. Two, you will feel just alive. What is the purpose of living? It's life. To love life as it is. Pure. No thoughts, no confusion. It's not there. Just feel alive. When you rise from the bed, you feel, okay, this is a new day. What am I going to do? I'm going to change the world today because I feel so good. And even though I'm not fully on right now, I know it's coming. And I want it so much. And you know what? It's called purpose. And that purpose, I'm living it. And that purpose is stronger than my thinking. And this society is not driven to fulfill each and everyone's purpose. It's to have the society maintained, the system maintained, controlled by a couple of people. All the energy, for what? Where is the happiness? Where is the strength? Where is the health? Every day when I live my purpose, and I want to change the world, I want to bring love and power, and I'm doing that with mathematical precision, with the Mission Impossible things I found, which I've tested in scientific comparative studies, showing that suddenly we have so much more control. Instead of being controlled by the system, oppressing our purpose, our life's energy, and to connect with that purpose. It's like love. When you feel love for your woman, for your love, your sex, this, you don't think. That is that power. And that power you should be able to live and to feel for life itself every day. But we are blocked too much. Going into the cold brings you out of this thinking ring. It brings you directly into the are doing it, going into the cold, then it needs to be switched on, the deepest part of the brain, survival part, the brainstem, and to battle the danger of the cold. But it's there. Once it's there and you are doing it, you are connecting.
Is there part of what you're saying that the way that we live our lives is a little bit too comfortable, so we're not reaching those sort of deeper levels of our brain? We're kind of, and we are optimizing discomfort out of our lives in every chance we get. You know, from every, I got here today in a nice warm car, I arrived in a nice warm building, I had a nice warm shower.
Well, very soon you will be in the ice bed. It's going to be nice, you know. It's going to be nice. But the difference is we choose. If we go to the cold, then the cold will not come to us. We tackle the problem before it arises within us. With the cold, which is a very negative, aggressive power inflicted upon our bodies. It's an impact.
When you say if we go to the cold before the cold comes to us, is that a metaphor for life? Are you?
Yes.
Okay. You mean we put ourselves in discomfort, and if we don't, then our lives will be met with discomfort. In other
Yes, and then
And
we
you
are
can
not
scoot towards me
prepared.
as much as you can.
Yeah.
And that,
A little bit more.
a lot of people
Then you
are
can kinda try to
maybe
lean on
okay
this.
with this in this system, but so many more people are not okay with this. And for those, we stand up. We, who have the wealth of being and feeling okay, great, that's well, we should be able to stand up for those who cannot.
Wim, when did this start? When did this start for you? Because a lot of people that I meet on this show, you know, their early journeys or the sort of pivotal moments in their lives can be traced back to maybe when they were 12 or 13, but your journey starts even earlier. The first domino that fell seems to fall when your mother was giving birth to you.
Oh yes, subconsciously it started at my birth. My mother told me. I'm one of the twins, unexpected. Back then we had no echographics and all these tools.
So they didn't know that there was another twin baby there.
Exactly, and so I was almost born too late. They discovered me almost too late, and so I came out while they were pushing the bed with my mother to the operation room in the hallway, like purple because I almost suffocated, coming out in the cold of the hall. Very traumatized. It started over there. It started with a trauma, and let me tell you, I became a seeker because of that trauma. People become seekers if they have deep traumas. They always will seek compensation. Always try to seek relief in one way or in another. Not directly to the trauma, but indirectly, bypassing it. And they don't know. It influences directly, deeply your behavior in life.
Just want to make sure I'm super clear on this. Your mother had two identical twin boys, and the doctors only knew that one baby was there. So when they finished delivering your brother, your identical twin brother, they were moving on with the procedure, and then at the last minute, while they were in the hallway, they discovered there was another baby in there, and that other baby, yourself, was at risk. And from that whole sort of traumatic experience, you feel that that sort of embodied a trauma which turned you into a seeker, looking for answers on the universe, rejecting the conventional thinking. And that takes us all the way through
allergic to anything?
Very curious childhood up to the point you described at 17 years
Remote
old,
and
where you're
aftercare.
stood in Amsterdam by a very, very cold lake, and you feel called to jump into that lake.
Yes. Yes, cold and cold. There are no words to describe it because you are led by intuition. You are led by a way the body is able to solve whatever is inside. Because you cannot relate by thinking what is going on. Because I was a baby back then. But it always blocked me. It made me a seeker. And at that moment, when I went in, I just followed your intuition. It's a feeling. And there, I felt, this is it. This is it. What I've always been trying to find as a seeker. My intuition had led me to go into that water to meet my trauma. And that is activating an innate capacity of ours to deal and to process whatever is going on in the deepest of the brain, in the deepest stored up tissue where is trauma present, which we haven't learned how to access.
That first time you got in the cold water,
Yeah.
Did you react like I react when I get in cold water now? Were you
No, absolutely not. I was surprising, and you will go with me later,
Yeah.
and you will not go the way you just expressed.
Okay.
We will go like, you will smile beautifully like you do right now,
Yeah.
and go with me in. And there is a moment that you will feel a little bit of, well, I'm there. We are there. You're my brother. I'm your uncle. I'm your family. I want you to feel good. I want you. I'm here to make you strong. Strong. It means to stay in the eye of the hurricane when the stress is most.
When you first got into the cold water, you said it seemed to answer a lot of your spiritual questions.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh.
What spiritual questions did getting in the cold water that first time answer?
All what has been propagated by all the religions, all the esoteric disciplines and doctrines, that nirvana and enlightenment, chi, dharma, whatever they call it in name, that is just our mind. Let's feel strong. Let's be strong. Let's be healthy. Let's be happy. Just unconditionally. That's what I felt at that moment. This is it. And it was not words that came to me. It was a pure
Your sort of mid-20s?
Yeah.
You lived as a squatter.
8 years.
You were
Best time of my life. Having no money whatsoever. I was in society, living outside of society. Outside. I had no money. I lived off the scraps of the marketplace. And I loved it. It was a party time. It was feast every day. With all these other people who are free thinkers. Don't think a time. Have a sabbatical. A sabbatical of this way the system maintains itself through paradigm, through a certain way of thinking. If you just leave it a time, you start to think thoughts and emotions are able to emerge without this helmet, this heavy helmet, which is interrupting your flow, your being, your expression. And then you cannot trust that expression. You are lost. You're getting lost of who you are. There, I was able to freely think without even thinking about it. I played the guitar in the hallways. I did yoga, all these postures in the courtyards, naked, and in the winter time. I became so strong. If you only let the life force express itself, you become so strong.
What is the life force? For anybody that doesn't know.
Anybody has it. Yeah, like here and right now. If like I was talking before we entered into this podcast, 76 years old this man was, and he was suffering from Lyme's disease, and he wanted to climb the Kilimanjaro in record time without having any experience in climbing. 76 years old, Lyme's disease, they're suffering. With that condition, doing a mountain, which normally is done between 5 and 9 days, fully dressed, because up there at 6,000 meters, it's really cold, and there is less than half the oxygen, so the cold comes even harder in, and there I saw life force. His life force was so determined to climb with me an impossible, physiologically impossible task. Because normally between 5 to 9 days, he did it in 31 hours, 76 years old. What else is that than a life force you never expected it to be, just to take on the challenge. He had a deeper feeling within himself. I don't know what I gotta do, but this guy is saying he wants to climb the Kilimanjaro past the physiological limits according to science, and I feel it. I feel something. That is your life force talking to you, which wants to free itself.
He was suffering from Lyme's disease. He was in a system, always abiding to everything, and suddenly with an autoimmune disorder, he could not control at all, and there he was. So he felt the same thing as I felt when I was 17 going into the call. He came with me, and he climbed the Kilimanjaro in 31 hours. Not 5 to 9 days, 31 hours. So that is the life force. Our life force is capable of so much more than we are used to.
Why don't we know that? Why don't we believe that? Why don't we live our lives with the opinion that we can climb the mountain?
Sure. Because we are led to believe we have to serve into systems that are not necessarily serving our soul. And they're so massively psychologically overwhelming, the system, the schooling system, etc. It's so overwhelming that we have no way to escape from this narrowing consciousness where we got in. We think careers make us happy, cars make us happy, money makes us happy, fame and name and all makes us happy. I was the happiest guy when I was in the squat, having nothing.
You were effectively homeless, living just outside.
Yeah. A squat is a place where you have electricity, and that's it. And you got to pay for the heater, so you had to find ways to pay, say, what is it, £70 a month.
And you were living with lots of people.
Yeah.
When you were squatting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wasn't amazing. I mean, we don't need so much, but it has been propagated that we need a house. Everybody needs a mortgage, and you got to serve that mortgage. You got to go to 9 to 5, and we become slaves. Slaves of the system that is, in the end, creating quite some stress, and we are only able to survive, not to express ourselves creatively as who we are and what we are for real.
What's a realistic alternative, Wim?
I lived in that society. First, I lived outside through living in a squat. That was enough for me to have my own identity connected in my thinking, my mind. And then I went into society. It was a horrible time, because suddenly I had to live in a flat with kids. And my wife deteriorated mentally, and she took her own life in '95, and she jumped from 8 stories down. That was the life I was in, and society just keeps on going like a train. It has no emotion, it has no feeling.
Wim, on that, you're 22 years old, you fall in love.
Yeah.
With a woman you describe as the love of your life.
Oh, that's her, yes. Olaya. Oh, look at this. Oh, yes, sweet girl. Amazing soul. Very expressive, very talkative to everybody, very open. And then into the shadows of her own mind, in this functioning of brain functioning. And that led to her depression, and then becoming manic, and then schizophrenia. And then got worse and worse and worse. We were 15 years together.
You met her in that squatter house?
In the squat house, yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, so innocent. All very innocent, and I called her a butterfly, mariposa in Spanish, and a butterfly because she was everywhere. A very light being. Did I fell in love or rose in love? I think the last one. Only the way her mind got disturbed through this. Is it society? Is it the pressure? Is it the career? Is it what is it? The demand? Because this was a light, a being of light.
You met her in that squatter house. You had 2 children together.
Yes, in the squat, and perfectly okay, and great, We beautiful. Those children are right now working with me. We got an international, worldwide company. Yeah.
When did you realise that her mental health was deteriorating?
Whew. Yeah, probably too late. It was a decreasing kind of process in her where she was losing the control, and I had no real means to take care of that. She went back to Pamplona. She was Spanish from origin, and she was there with her family. She would have been for months on end with her family, and then come back and being mother for 2 days, and then suddenly collapse and being bad and being very down again, and like a burdensome. But we loved her, of course. We were trying to survive. Where only after the fourth child, she wanted another child, but I said, no, you have to become better. You have to become healthy. And then she said, you're a bastard. That was 1 month before she took her own life. She kissed her. I was working as a mountain guide in the Pyrenees to get some money. And I also love it. I love nature. But then, she kissed the kids goodbye before jumping down or letting go from an 8th story.
She jumped off an 8-story building.
Yes. I mean, it almost takes a lot of courage to do that too. You must be very desperate if you do a thing like that. And that is something unovercomable. The part of me when I was 12, the world is sick, depressed, the darkness, the wars, the pollution, etc. All that, I'm going to do something about it. At that moment, I was not able to do anything. So it turned into a defeat. It turned into being me hopeless. It turned me into being depressed. But I had no time to be depressed. I had to take care of 4 children.
On your own?
On my own, with almost no money. So that's actually where the call came in. Not like a negative power. The call is stronger than your mind. Than your thinking. It makes the depth of your brain at work. And the depth of your brain is the place, the pharmacy. It's the pharmacy, the healer of our being, which we disconnected from so much. Because we go for pills, medicines, we go to the doctor if something happens to us. We don't go to ourselves.
I can't imagine the pain. I can't imagine the pain of, having the love of my life, deteriorate, have 4 kids with me, but then take her own life. Grief.
Oh yes. Grief had no space yet. The agonizing thinking all day long has its way to burden a person, me, and the only way to break that was going into icy water. That was, I mean, at that moment you're just surviving, and that gives you a little opening of this agonizing thinking. It's painful. And at that moment you are so overwhelmed by all that you now I can talk about it. But back then I was in the middle of it.
Do you remember where you were when you got that phone call?
Yeah, exactly. And I was doing groups of people in the mountains. So back then you had these phone booths.
Yeah.
On the camping where we slept and with the group, and there I got this phone call of her brother calling me. And, it is not only shocking, you don't know what to say. You cannot even cry. The grief comes later. The thinking about it, the being able to contemplate about it and have feelings about it comes only later. I cried when I was with her father, with her father over her dead body. Then we cried together. Then you can relate. You can let go. It happens. You're not thinking about it. It happens. So that's the way it evolves. And then, but in the back of my head was, of course, my 4 children. It took a burden on us. It took a burden, an inexplicable burden. It changed us. It traumatized us in the depth, and that made us separate at a certain moment. Later on in life. Now we are all together, and it's amazing. The chemistry is better than ever before, and she, the mother, she is like an angel now. She's looking over our shoulders, and we talk about it. We say, that it is going so well with us is because she is back. She is with us. We feel it.
When you had that conversation with your 4 children that their mother was gone, they were between 7 and 12 years old.
Yeah.
How do you have a conversation with a 7-year-old or a 12-year-old about their mother not being here anymore?
Exactly, that way. I said, she's gone. Her body is gone. I didn't say she was dead. I said, she is no longer with us. That's what I said. And they got it. We are here, we are together, we're gonna find life with us. Mommy is gone, yet also she is here. It worked. I mean, we went on.
Did they ask questions?
Of course, many questions, but in the end, the questions were not as strong as our being during in life, being together. It's there where I found the call to give me all the energy to create a good atmosphere at home. The nest, warmth, playfulness, being there, light, not having.
What is that first step to, because there's so many people that are going through different forms of grief, or they have that trauma that you've described that goes back a long way. If they're listening to this now and they've stumbled this far into the conversation and they're thinking, I'm so far away from that Wim, I'm so far away, I've got my shirt and tie on, I'm in the city, I know I'm unhappy, I can feel it in my bones, but I know no other way. What is the first step?
Absolutely, the breathing exercises. These breathing exercises in 2014 were capable to show, just like scientifically, hormonally, looking at the nervous system, the depth which we entered with these breathing exercises in this comparative study showed that we were able to tap into the autonomic nervous system and innate immune system, which was considered to be impossible in science. And now it is there. It's not only the autonomic nervous system and the innate immune system, it's also the ability naturally to solve what is deeply stored up in our tissue, which could not be processed in the moment when it happened. Trauma.
Wim, I've got some of those studies in front of me. I read through all of them ahead of our conversation. They are, quite frankly, remarkable. They're quite frankly remarkable. They are peer-reviewed studies that have been published, went through very sort of scientifically rigorous processes to make sure that they were valid. And in these studies, we see breakthroughs that I think in the past people thought were impossible. But if we just focus in then on that breathing, because you described that as the first step. If I have never breathed in my life, I've never done it, I've never heard about it, I'm skeptical to it, I think breathing is just something we don't think about. What do you mean by breathing, and what kind of breathing? And can you explain to me, like I'm an idiot, what it's doing?
What it is doing. For example, I'm now busy with cardiologists, and they saw in heart films that if you stop breathing after exhalation for 1.5 minutes, more blood flows into the brain and to the heart. This one is never, and now it has been shown through these breathing techniques. I mean, this really goes so deep. We are able to make through these breathing techniques, change our blood's chemistry, bring up the pH levels way up, by which the breathing trigger is not happening because it's depending on the CO2 level in our blood. If we breathe like 30 times like this, you become a little bit woozy, be a little bit dizzy. Why? Because the CO2 levels go way down. You blow it up, carbon dioxide.
Have we forgotten how to breathe like that? Is that
Yes.
Is that the natural way of breathing?
No, not exactly.
Okay.
What is exactly is that we have forgotten to feel deep emotions, to be in connection with danger. Danger is a deep emotion. Or the cold. It's deep. We avoid these emotions, but we are built to receive it, to express it, and alive the deeper mechanisms in our body. And if that long term is not exercised, those deeper mechanisms, and among that is not only the emotion, it's also the immune system. It becomes weaker. We become more flaccid. We become insensitive. Look at the insensitivity in our society. Gaza is happening. Protest here. So we should stop that shit. We should stop those wars because kids, little kids, are here jeopardized, and we cannot even feel it anymore. You know that this insensitivity in us is a plague. Is a plague because we serve a system that runs well on people being obedient and being flaccid, not really sensitive. Because if you are really sensitive, you don't go to a slave job every day and come back stressed, and the other day you do it again and again and again and again. What we should do within ourselves is learning how to connect into the depth. And this is what I give through the call. We bring these deeper emotions alive, and then you will not abide to that what makes you weak, to that what kills your purpose. We got to stand up as humanity, and more now than ever. And here we are. And Wim, how do you do that? Very simple. Do this breathing techniques. Do it on your bed, on a sofa, or very controlled, because you will go past your conditioned mind and body. The shallow breathing we say that is breathing. That's not breathing. That is automatic reflex of your body doing something. There it is. Now you take over consciously. You start to breathe deeper. You go past these patterns depicted by a conditioned body. And that conditioning is only serving the system, but not necessarily you. I want you to take over the steer wheel. I want you to be conscious, and then go with that conscious into deeper breathing, break the patterns of your conditioning, and suddenly your deeper traumas, your deeper feelings are able to come to the surface, being stored up, being stashed away forever. And that is what is happening. The first session we do, I can promise any person who is doing it will encounter such a tremendous experience of himself from the depth coming to the surface. And that's only the depth coming to the surface, that's all. And it's beautiful.
I'm so intrigued as to how that happens. So, because I've had lots of friends that are very focused on breathing, using your techniques. Obviously, I told you before we started recording, my partner runs a breathwork studio called Bali Breathwork, where she has committed her life to using the breath to heal people. But I'd like someone to explain to me, you know, how, if I take hold of the steering wheel and I go past those sort of unconscious breathing patterns, why does that unlock trauma? Because when I go to have been to my partner's breathwork sessions when they end, people are talking about very deep forms of trauma that they've suddenly encountered, and I'm wondering, how is the breath doing that? How is the breath unlocking that stuff? Where is it hidden? You know, I don't understand the breath's connection to our trauma.
So traumas are a stored up chemistry. It's unprocessed. It's when an experience happens and you cannot deal with it. You don't understand. It's being stashed away and it becomes biochemical, stored up. Stored up capacity of the body is simply there in our deeper tissue. But our conditioned mind and body is not able to get into that. Yeah.
Just by thinking.
Yes, about that we are thinking too much, and we know something is wrong inside, but we cannot connect with that. Now, if we change the patterns we normally go into with our breathing and thinking, which goes paired, which controls our heart, it's conditioning. If we are into that conditioning and we start simply, and that makes it so beautiful, that it is so simple, and how it then suddenly is able to get into this thought to regulate our mood in the depth is by cannabinoid receptors.
Doing a light shade on where it's going to be blue, or potentially like I think we decided on blue, but just I can't remember.
And it shows that
well, it doesn't matter what color, but basically I'm just doing a light tone so that once we do the color, it's going to have some nice variants of shades and tones in it.
Makes all
it's going to be real pretty.
In the brain work together.
As soon as these flowers are done, the bird's going to be the prettiest part.
Areas we normally
I'm trying to be real meticulous about them. Orchids are very beautiful, but if you don't do the little lines right, it's kind of, you don't know what they are.
In the body called cannabinoid receptors, by which deeper realities of our physiology open up. And that is a natural thing to happen when we are in peace, no longer in the trauma, in the accident. No, now we are in peace. Now we should be able to work out what has been stored up. That is a natural capacity of ours to do that, but we have never learned in our society, in our schooling, how to do it. And not even in psychiatry. They give you pills and they give you medicines, and it makes a lot of money, but it doesn't solve the problem. People become catatonic. People go, my wife too, after treatment in psychiatry, the first wife, she became, her eyes like
a zombie.
Yeah, a zombie. This is a blasphemy. This is scandalous in psychiatry that they keep on doing that. Now I get a lot of psychiatrists, cognitive psychologists, or about cognitive therapies, and they say when the cognitive therapies have no solution anymore, we do breathing, and it just brings solution. So it is simple, so effective, but it doesn't make me. It makes people understand. I feel so much better. How is that? And that's simply that. How it works. We just did the landmark study with the compelling findings that we actually found interoception, interoceptive focus, suddenly being able to regulate our mood emotion, much better. So we are able to listen. If we listen to our body and we feel bad, we can change that. We found now the key how to do that. First of all, you do the breathing. Cold, of course, cold training, not too much, never too much. Just relax. We are very capable to even take like Patrice Evra, who was completely hating it because of his, when he was young, he got it as a punishment. You have to take it nice and good and open up to the natural capacity to take it on. He was the best, the absolute best. Taking on icy water for 16 minutes. He was in and he wanted to stay there in. And the BBC was like, oh no, this is too dangerous. Please come out. No, you have to come out, Patrick. Ah, okay. And he was just walking out. And you know what? I felt his skin. He was not even cold.
So, just for context.
Is that hour? That's that hour. It's so simple.
For people that don't know, Patrice is a good friend of mine, Patrice Evra. He's been on this podcast before, and he told me that Wim's techniques had really changed his life, especially his relationship with cold water. He was like me. He told himself that because of his race, where he came from, his DNA, he wasn't able to spend time in cold water. But I think what he discovered through Wim was that was actually a trauma, because when he was younger, his father used cold water as a punishment. So he had this trauma with cold water, and after doing your program and spending time with you, he was the very, very best at staying in cold water. And when I was with him recently,
it was amazing.
He jumped in that cold water without flinching. And he told me that throughout his entire Manchester United playing career, he was always the one that never got into the cold recovery plunge pools at Manchester United after the game. He always avoided it, and he wishes that he knew what he knows now about the power of cold water, because then he would have been able to recover better as a player. That's what he told me. I have the study here in front of me that you described there. I think it's the Michigan brain over body study.
That was the first study, and then came a second study. The first study, I was compared to 74 test subjects, people, and they were all going into the having a perfusion vest, what is being used when firefighters go into the work. They have a cold water going through a perfusion vest full of tubes.
So it's a vest where they pump cold water in?
Yes.
Okay.
So they are able to endure the heat of the fire better, to fight the fire. So they took that into body scans, fMRI scans, and pumped cold water into these vests while the people were motionless in these fMRIs. And so every time when the cold water was pumped in, the body's skin temperature would go down, and then warmed up again, skin temperature going up. And that correlates in the brain with stress. And those stress mechanisms then, when the cold is being pumped in, is very clearly seen on the monitor of these people who connected the people with electrodes. You could see it on the monitor, the way the brain was being activated. Mm-hmm. Oh, these are the stress mechanisms, and now is the warmth. Oh, now is the areas of well-being of the brain activated. Insula and the periaqueductal gray, whatever the names. I call it the positive and the negative registration of stress and or well-being. Yeah, those parts, and nobody could change that. What if we could make the feeling well out of the brain at work when the stress comes in?
Sort of, we could choose to feel good when stress comes.
This was never been shown in psychiatry. So they had this experimental module there, and then nobody could make a different brain scan possible when stress comes in through the cold being pumped in to the skin. then stress part of the brain is activated. Nobody could make that not go activated, not go away. And I could. I didn't feel the cold when it came in because I warmed up my body.
Nobody believed that was possible until you did it. I want to just recount the first study, which was done and published in 2018. It was carried out at Wayne State University in Michigan, and scientists looked at the way that the body and the brain reacted to changes in temperature. Whenever anyone feels the cold, they typically have a automatic bodily response, but also you can see that response in the brain, the narrowing blood vessels to protect organs, increased energy and pain signals. To test whether you could control that, those responses to the cold, scientists created a full body suit in which they would pump test their skin temperature would rise and fall with the change in water temperature, which is what you'd expect. When Wim underwent the experiment, without his breathing techniques, his skin temperature changes were very similar to the normal people. However, when he used the breathing and meditation techniques, he kept a sustained skin temperature of 34 degrees over 25 minutes, which was never thought to be humanly possible. When he was put in a PET scan to see what was happening inside his body, scientists saw that the intercostal muscle, which is the muscle between your ribs, were burning a lot of glucose and releasing heat into your body, which was keeping your body warm. When looking at Wim's brain, scientists saw that it didn't have the same unconscious reaction to the cold as normal people's brains did. His breathing technique engaged the sympathetic nervous system, releasing adrenaline, and triggered the area of the brain stem, which is that area you were describing before.
Periaqueductal gray hemisphere.
That perceives pain. The triggering of the brain stem released cannabinoids and opioids, and these chemicals gave a sense of well-being and reduced anxiety. And this study showed that Wim had control over the autonomous systems of the brain and the brain's automatic responses to the cold. The results of this study have been tremendous, and they have proven the massive potential implications for the immune system disorders like diabetes, MS, and arthritis in psychiatry. The hour of that is the study really proved that the stress we encounter throughout our lives, we do have control over it. We have control over the impact it has on our physiological systems, but also, our brain and how we experience it. Because you were able to not experience cold.
Yes.
The pain of cold, the stress of cold.
And it was not about the cold. It was about how to deal with stress. Stress can come in many ways. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. It can come in many ways. In the end, it is biochemical stress. It turns into biochemistry, neurotoxins, etc. It accumulates, it gets in the body, creates blockages, it drains, and you don't know what to do with it, and then medicines come in and pills, and it only deteriorates. It gets worse, and that besides of the side effects. Thing is, I used the cold back when I was with my wife, who died, to get my emotional agony out of the way. And it was the doorway to open up my healing, my spiritual healing of me as a puppy, of my children, just to be happy with them and to provide energy and well-being without this traumatizing darkness around us. So I found it through the cold, yet it is not about the cold. It's about that I regained mastery over to bring back my emotion uninterrupted. Because we should be able to guide our emotional state of being anytime when we feel that. Naturally. And that is what this shows. And now, upon this study, they did another study. And then they saw, even without me, now people can do this. And that's what I wanted. That is the study, a landmark study being done last January, published. So that's 24. And 6 years past the COVID and all. And now they see compelling evidence
to keep on and to make these studies much bigger, because their potential is, we found the key called interoception to be so strong that we are able to control our emotional well-being throughout whatever stress there is.
It's not just our emotional well-being, it's also our immune system.
Of course, that goes also with it. Isn't a healthy person a happy person, kind of? You know, isn't it interrelated?
I want to just highlight this because this, for me, when I heard this many years ago, I thought this couldn't possibly be true. But in 2010, when you were 51 years old, you took part in a study at Radboud University Medical Center in the Netherlands, where you were injected with a bacterial toxin, a dead strain of E. coli. In previous studies of 100 healthy people, they responded to that injection with a flu-like response, which is what you'd expect. You'd get the flu if you were injected with that. However, when you were injected with that bacterial toxin, you had no negative immune response, apart from a minor headache. Your blood results also showed the release of cortisol, adrenaline, and the messenger chemical IL-10, which is an anti-inflammatory protein, all of which helped you to fight off that bacteria. However, to prove that this wasn't just you being some superhuman, scientists gathered 30 male volunteers, 12 were put into a control group, which meant that they were just normal, and 18 were trained by you. You took 18 of them to Poland for 4 days to train them on meditation, cold exposure, and your breathing techniques. And when they were injected with the bacterial toxin, the dead strain of E. coli, the trained group had a significantly less immune response, recovered quicker, and their bodily responses were similar to your own. This was a major scientific breakthrough, and it showed people could voluntarily control their automatic nervous system and immune response, which was previously thought to be impossible.
And that's the viewer. The viewer is looking at this now. That's you. And that's where we want to reach out to. You have the absolute capacity to rule so much better within your own body. And I'm doing the science, I'm following the science, and I think it's scandalous of the scientific community not to have dove upon this.
Why don't we? Is it because it's difficult?
No, it's not difficult. It's not now. I don't know, over 100 million people are doing this. But through the scientific world, which is also in the beginning of this conversation, it's corrupted. They get funding from the pharmaceutical industry, and that's all good, etc. I'm not messing with them. But natural ways that could equalize the results of medicines without side effects should at least have a thorough examination by the scientific elite world.
I want to even make sure I'm super clear on what's going on here and what's achieved these phenomenal results. By having a sort of doing some of these techniques that help us to unlock the stress and the trauma that's deep in our body, and that enable us to create a better response with stress, we're able to guard off the stress, which means we're able to protect our well-being, which means that we're able to fend off disease, because we all know that when we're highly stressed, our immune system falls and we get sick. I know in my own life, whenever I'm really stressed is the only time that I'll ever get a cold or anything like that. Is that the simple way of describing what's going on here?
Yeah. We have this innate capacity to heighten our buffer zone toward stress, by which stress is not able to do its damage.
Coming
and
out
is
dope.
Part of the problem with the modern way of living that we've chosen medication as the answer to often, and we've also made our lives as stressful as possible.
Absolutely. There is no doubt about it, and it is a dead-end street, by the way. And the whole healthcare system is burdened by the finances and all. It's going to collapse anyway if it keeps on going, but because it is a money-making way, that's why they will keep on going until it collapses. I had Professor Friedrich in Magdeburg on the line talking about, he said to me, Wim, the democracy as we know it actually is at peril, in danger. Why? Because the people are becoming so weak. And the democracy is only composed by the strength of the people. Once we get all weaker, and a system which is corrupt just to make money, a healthy economy on sick people that wants to stay that way, makes the people weaker and weaker, by which the democracy will know its hand, will collapse. And I said, hey, that weakness in the democracy, in people, I can make it go away in 1 week. And it simply sounds talking to this professor. And he agreed because he saw it. He saw it in the people. He knew it. He knew it from anecdotal evidence. He knew it from his family, taking up these crazy Wim Hof techniques, going into gold. Wim Hof is a brand name. I'm a simple guy. I know what it is to have nothing at all, to be a nobody. And now I got a name and fame and all that. I don't care. It's okay. If I got to stand up, I will. And I will say, hey, here I am, Wim Hof, the Iceman. And I will change the world. How? Through making you better than who you think you could be.
And that is through the Wim Hof method.
And fasting is good too. To deprive yourself in different ways, hormetically, that is self-inflicted, acute, stressful exercise. But do it consciously. If you don't go to the cold will come to you. If you don't go to the stress will come to you. Because we are built to endure. We are built. We got these capacities. So if we go into the cold, you will see that your whole body is able to handle stress so much better. And when you know you are going into a stressful event of any kind, you know willfully to connect yourself, make your body from the inside so strong that the stress out there is no problem.
There's 3 elements to this Wim Hof method. There's 3 pillars to the method. The first is that conscious breathing. So let's just make sure we've covered that off. If I want to be able to just do this at home, if I'm listening now and I'm in my car or I'm walking the dog or whatever, I'm on a plane, what is the sort of key parts of doing the breathing technique correctly?
Yes. Do it safe.
Yeah.
So never outside to where you can lose control.
Okay.
You know, when you drive and you lose control, that's no good. When you are in a swimming pool and you lose control, that's no good. When you are at an abyss and you lose control, no good. You know, wherever your motorical power is needed to be in control, don't do it there. So therefore, we say strictly, this is a powerful medicinal, therapeutical exercise through breathing, specific breathing patterns. We take on. If, for example, we are sitting now.
Yeah.
It's safe to do it here.
Yeah.
Even if you faint now, then yeah, you would maybe fall here on the ground. There's a soft carpet here. There's no problem.
Okay.
So relax. This is also these moments when you, okay, relax. I'm now turning myself into myself because I'm going to breathe deeper. I'm going to go past my normal control mode, normal conditioning, normal thinking. So, okay, am I here? Yes, I'm here. Okay, here we go. We have a belly, we have a chest. That those muscles are connected to the lungs. So use your belly and use your chest to inhale fully. You can go through your mouth, through your nose, as you feel.
How do I know if I'm doing it correctly with my belly?
Yeah, just
So 2 breaths in.
Yeah, and a certain moment becomes one. Keep on going. Fully in, as deep as possible, and let it go. Just let it go. And then fully in again. As deep as possible, and let it go. And all in. And let it go. And all in. Let it go. The mind goes with the breath. Fully in. Let it go. And all in. Go and keep on going. Go all in. Blowing off the CO2, carbon dioxide. Can become a little bit dizzy, but that's okay. The body is charging up. It's changing. Your blood chemistry is changing. Your pH levels go up in your blood. We do 10 more. Fully in. Just follow the breath. Whatever feels different, breathe into it. Let it go. And all in. Let it go. This morning at 5 o'clock I was doing this. Because I was preparing to be freed in my biochemistry of any shit. And this is cleansing the biochemistry. Trauma, anything that is deeply in is being cleansed. Yeah, 5 more. Let it go. Fully in. Let it go. All in. Let it go. All in. Let it go. Last one. All in. Let it go. And stop after the exhalation. Close your mouth. No breathing. No need. Your pH levels are way up. There's no need for breathing. What is going to happen is what I was mentioning before. After 1 minute, and there is no need for breathing, because the breathing trigger depends on CO2. CO2 is blown up. You are biohacking your body. You're going deep. You're going past the conditioned mind and body. You're going deeper in the tissue. Now you're entering into the deepest part of your brain. It's going to shoot out adrenaline.